The meeting is now reconvened to open session. The board would like to remind the public that this meeting is being audio and video recorded and is also available via live stream. The live stream link can be found on the front page of the RUSD website. We will now have report of action taken in closed session. Trustee Sutherland, will you please report out on action taken in closed session?
In closed session, the board voted to approve the appointment of Courtney Doyland for the position of 1.0 FTE Assistant Principal, Rocklin High School. The vote was unanimous.
Thank you. And tonight we have Isabella Oliveras from Rocklin High School as our student board representative. Isabella, will you please introduce the color guard and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of colors by the Rocklin Unified School District's Junior ROTC Color Guard and the Pledge of Allegiance. The commander and U.S. flag bearer for this evening's color guard is Cadet Major Audrey Threkel. The state flag is carried by Cadet Lieutenant Colonel McKenna McVicker. The right guard is Cadet First Lieutenant Wyatt Gilmer. The left guard is Cadet Captain Gavin Lee. The alternate for tonight is Cadet First Lieutenant Isaiah Brizuela.
All right, thank you so much. And now we'll move on to our special recognition and presentations portion of the meeting. Chief Dosanjh, will you please introduce our family partners in education recognition tonight?
Good evening, President Hupp, trustees, and Superintendent Stock. The Family Partners in Education program is an opportunity for the Rocklin Unified School District to acknowledge and appreciate family engagement and involvement, thereby supporting our students in achieving excellence throughout the school year. Tonight, Breen Elementary School Principal Jennifer Palmer is introducing the Aspling family for tonight's Family Partners in Education recognition.
Good evening, President Hupp, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Stock, and members of the Cabinet. Tonight, we would like to recognize the Aspling family. It's an honor to recognize this family who have made such a positive impact of our Breen community over the past 10 years. Yep, 10 years. Their dedication, generosity, and heart for our students and staff is second to none. For the last several years, Lindsay has been the driving force behind some of our most memorable events. Her creativity and innovation brought new life to traditions like our Sweetheart Dance with themes like Tiffany's, Wicked, and my favorite, Barbie. These themes have made for magical evenings for our families to experience year after year. Both Lindsay and John have demonstrated strong leadership and organization of our school carnival, creating a sense of joy and connection that brings our entire community together. Beyond these large-scale events, their commitment to the school is felt on a daily basis. They have volunteered in classrooms year after year, supporting not only their own children, but so many others, always willing to lend a hand, offer encouragement, and make a difference wherever needed. They've also gone above and beyond in showing appreciation for our staff, from thoughtful Teacher Appreciation Week this week, celebrations to generously hosted lunches throughout the year. They have consistently made our teachers feel valued, supported, and cared for. Their impact goes far beyond what can be measured in hours or events. Colton, Camden, and Ryland have all served all served on the student leadership team, following in their parents' footsteps of volunteering their time and leadership to our Breen community. They have helped shape the culture of our school, one rooted in kindness, collaboration, and community. On behalf of the entire Breen community, we want to extend our most sincere gratitude for 10 years of unwavering support and service. It is with great appreciation that we honor this incredible family tonight. Thank you.
Aspling family. Yeah, all of you guys. It's addressed to all of you. Yes. Oh, look at that. Congratulations. 10 years is an accomplishment, and I'm sure it has probably flown by, as it tends to do, but the impact that that time makes is unquestionable. I love hearing that all three of the kids have also gotten involved in leadership. You guys are clearly setting a really great example. So thank you. It sounds like you have a couple more years to still continue on. I saw pictures of the Wicked event. It looked amazing. Way to get the kids involved and dressed on theme and coming out. So just thank you for everything you're doing to foster that community there at Breen. We really appreciate you. Yes.
All right, we'll now move on to 6.2, employee recognition. Chief Dosanjh, will you introduce our employee recognition tonight?
President Hupp, trustees, and Superintendent Stock. Tonight for our employee recognition, Rocklin High School Principal Mike Pappas will join us to introduce Adrian Takla.
President Hupp, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Stock, on behalf of Rocklin High School, it's an absolute honor to be here tonight to introduce one of our exceptional language arts teachers, Ms. Adrian Takla. So one of the things that we truly believe in at Rocklin High School is that we want every student to feel welcomed and supported when they come to our campus. And Ms. Takla just naturally embodies that belief. She puts so much care and compassion and support into everything that she does for our students. And so we just truly appreciate that. One thing as principal is I tend to get a lot of emails, and I do. But I will say this, it's been really cool because this year I've had multiple parents reach out to just praise Ms. Takla and to thank her and include me in those emails for what she has done to make a difference for their students. And I think that is just, it's one of those things as a principal, it just makes your day. Another thing that's just really important that I want to just express is that Ms. Takla, she's been a part of our staff for 23 years. And for 22 of those years, she's been the heart and soul of our English language development program. So once again, just providing a welcoming atmosphere for all of our students. I think our colleagues can attest to it. So if you were to walk by her classroom at break or at lunch, you see just a number of students in there because they feel welcomed, and it's like a second home to them there in Ms. Takla's room. And then the other piece is that just throughout the years, really the hundreds of students who she has made an impact on, not only at Rocklin High School, but you get to see the positive impacts that have occurred even when they leave Rocklin High School. So just want to thank Ms. Takla for all that she does for Rocklin High School, and really not just Rocklin High, but really to making the Rocklin community a better place as well. So thank you, Adrian.
I'm just so honored that I get to do this today. And one of those emails, maybe not this year because you don't have any of my kids this year though, but I'm sure was from me. You had a few of my kids, and I'm so grateful for that. I looked back to see what our first email was, and it was 2016 on Strategic Planning Committee. So many years ago, I'm just so grateful for your impact. I'm grateful to see so many of your fans and colleagues that love and support you so much. I thought of a telling example would be from a neighbor of mine whose son he's a senior this year, and last year he was having a hard time at school, and Miss Takla called his mom and said, hey, I noticed that your son is having a hard time. I've heard that maybe he broke up with his girlfriend, and I can see it on his face, and I just want him to know that I'm thinking about him and that I care about him. And yes, she's an amazing teacher, but it goes so far when you care about students, and they perform so much better when they know how much you care. And so that means the world to myself, means the world to us as trustees. So thank you for being a superstar. We appreciate all of your efforts, and we see them. So thank you.
All right. Hey, everybody who's here.
That was so awesome, and I'm so glad your kids were here to hear how awesome you are at work. They know how awesome you are at home. It's nice when they get to hear about it at work. All right, we now invite Marty Flowers, Associate Superintendent Secondary Education, to join us in recognizing Rocklin High School and Granite Oaks Middle School California Distinguished Schools for 2026.
President Hupp, trustees, Superintendent Stock, I'm honored to be in front of you this evening to share that Rocklin High School and Granite Oaks Middle School have been recognized as 2026 California Distinguished Schools by the State Superintendent of Public Instruction. This prestigious recognition honors schools that are leading the way in student achievement, school climate, and educational equity. Rocklin High School earned recognition for both Achievement Gap Closer and Exemplary High Achiever categories, while Granite Oaks was honored as an Achievement Gap Closer. These awards reflect the dedication of our students, staff, and families, and we commend both schools' communities for their commitment to academic excellence and student success. And I come bearing gifts this evening, and a little story about these gifts is there was a little shipping delay, but shout out to Miss Jody, who drove to Sacramento today to pick those up. So I have the flags for both schools, so right now I'd like to invite the principals of both schools and their staffs to join us up front. Come on.
One at a time? You want to go one at a time?
So why don't we do one at a time? Okay. And if you guys can open the flag.
Okay, the new flag or the ceremonial flag?
Let's go with the ceremonial.
This flag right here. Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Yeah. Oh,
All right, thank you all for joining us, but now is a good time to sneak out if you would like to go. You're welcome to stay, but it is a good time to sneak out. Thank you all so much. All right, we do not have employee organizations here this evening, so we will move on to 8.1. Comments and report from our student board representative, Isabella. Will you please share your report?
Yes, of course. Good evening, President Hupp, trustees, and Superintendent Stock. We have a short student report today, but still a lot going on for our USD schools, so let's get right into it. At Corey Trail, this week, they celebrate Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. Their staff and students have been working very hard academically in English, math, and Spanish, and look forward to demonstrating it all on the state test assessments. In addition, on May 9th, the PTC is hosting their second annual golf tournament and family night out. This is a great time to be a Bronco. Springview has been having a great deal of fun getting ready for state testing. Eagles participated in a student-led kickoff rally last Friday. Teachers have set goals for growth with all students and are excited for students to show what you know. Go Eagles! Whitney High School Senior Ball wrapped up on April 25th and at the Masonic Temple in downtown Sacramento. The food was great, music was loud, and the party was memorable for the class of 2026. On April 17th, 18 leadership students from Whitney attended the California Association of Student Leaders Conference in Ontario. The group networked, bonded together, and is excited to make Whitney a better place for all students next year. The leadership program also earned recognition at the conference by receiving the Outstanding Leadership Program Award. Election week was held April 7th through 10th, and on April 10th, Lauren Turner was elected Association Student Body President for the 2026-2027 school year. She's excited to continue to build this leadership program and leave her legacy. Last week, the school held a multicultural week that was aimed to recognize the students and cultures of Whitney students. Lunchtime activities, decor, and festival on Fridays were a part of the festivities. At Rocklin High School, we just completed our annual CASP testing. We would like to thank all of our students who put forth a great effort on the test, as well as our amazing staff members who ensured that the testing ran smoothly. Beginning tomorrow night, we have our annual advanced dance show taking place in our theater on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 7 p.m., along with the 2 p.m. matinee. Finally, we would like to honor all teachers at Rocklin High School and abroad during this Teacher Appreciation Week. Thank you for making a profound impact on all of our students. Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you, Isabella. Before we move on to the next thing, this is your last meeting.
Yes,
we
it
sure
is.
have enjoyed having you up here with us. Where are you moving on to?
Thank you so much. I'm moving to Sierra next, so I'm going to stay at home for the next couple of years, which I'm so excited about.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yes, thank
I'm
you so
sure your
much.
parents are excited about
Yeah,
that
they
too.
definitely are. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for sharing that. All right, next we will have comments from the board and superintendent. Trustees, do you have comments you would like to share?
I'll go. So, again, thanks for all the comments. Thanks for all the insights and updates that are going on in our schools. Again, just want to say thank you, and I guess for those who are listening, have a good Teacher Appreciation Week. I know that rolls through every year, and I know it's towards the end of the year, but thank you, and thank you, teachers, for all the great things you guys are doing. Number two, and these are all just shout outs, so congratulations and good job, Whitney Lacrosse winning section champions. Number two, and they were not here anymore, but our ROTC drill team, they won a handful of awards at the NorCal Invitational Drill Meet, so that was great. And then I passed this up a while ago, and I apologize. Whitney High School Basketball Coach of the Year. So Coach Sydney, she did a great job with CIF, so congratulations to her in that. And then looking forward to hearing all the other fun things that are going on.
I'm just really going to miss you. And I know you know, but Isabella comes to my house occasionally, and she's just been such a great mentor and friend to Matthew, and I'm so grateful for that. And you've done such a great job as student body president. I've gotten a little closer glimpse than normal, and so Rocklin High School's been so blessed by your leadership, and we're just excited for what's ahead for you. Thank you. So the only person that I'd rather sit by is my own kid, and that's next year. So I'm just happy that, it was just fun to have you. So. The only thing that I would share, and I touched on it, we had a meeting last week, right? Is that I think after the meeting, maybe 2 days later, the mailers hit our community. We're putting a measure on the November ballot, and I've just spent a lot of time doing a lot of outreach and listening and gathering input and asking a lot of questions, and it's been rewarding to hear how our community is feeling. They see the need that we have in our school, our state sees the need, and I'm just excited for that. Welcome any feedback. We're going to have a community forum, a town hall set up at the end of the month, and I just am grateful for the opportunity to have this conversation and gather more information. We started a study session tonight at 4, and we're really digging deep and have spent a lot of time and energy on that. So that's it.
Great. First, Isabella, great to see you. Always enjoy hearing your updates, and I am very excited that you will be staying local. I'm sure we will see you around doing something great in the community. I love your heart to serve and give back to our community, and I know you're going to make a powerful impact at Sierra. And I know there are some phenomenal programs I was just talking with some Sierra leadership about. So excited to see what you do and the difference you make out in our community. Also just wanted to touch just a little bit. I know we gave an update at our recent meeting, but we just had our facility study session right before this meeting. And I just really appreciate the work of staff and our superintendent to really bring the board together and provide us opportunities to really dive deep into information, ask questions, really make sure we understand something before it comes for a vote, that we're not just surprised, but we're really able to truly understand the impacts of the possibility of a measure. And I know we're going to be looking at that more in the upcoming board meetings. But I also really appreciated the focus in the beginning on principal feedback. I know that was a request of the board. And so I really appreciate receiving that feedback, really being able to look into that, and also being able to talk about how do we make sure that a teacher on a campus is able to give feedback, and that we're able to make sure that as we're identifying and needing to identify a project list, that it's a beautiful balance of meeting the needs of our district and being a full comprehensive list of what needs to be done, but also balancing that we're not asking for a penny more than what's actually needed to actually make sure that we are educating our students with high levels of success. And so that's not an easy task, and there are many more knowledgeable people than me out there. And so I appreciate the opportunity to continue to dive deep, ask questions, get more data. I think it just helps us make better, more refined decisions. And I really appreciated in that study session, one of the good takeaways was between now and June, it's really critical time for those listening in to really answer 3 questions. The timing, what is the timing of our funding sources, and if do we need to look at finding matching dollars for state dollars? Also, what is the needed dollar amount? There's a lot of dollar amounts that get thrown out there. We've done a lot of work over the last 4 or 5 years on the facilities master plan and really refining what is that amount that's needed, and then what is the project list that's important to our community, our teachers, our students. I think those are 3 critical areas that it's really the responsibility of us as a board to hear from the community and give good response and direction to. So I look forward to hearing more these upcoming weeks in our upcoming listening session, May 28th. I know I highlighted that last meeting, but this is really critical time for those listening in. I know we're all busy getting ready for summer, but we have some big decisions coming ahead of us. And so I want to make sure that doesn't catch anybody by surprise. And then I also just wanted to highlight, we have so many incredible programs in Rocklin Unified, and I love when we get emails praising and celebrating the great work of many staff, but I just wanted to highlight a recent email we got specifically talking about CTE. You know, we really in Rocklin Unified put a priority on making sure our students are college and career ready, and having well-designed CTE pathways is important. And so I just wanted to do a quick shout out. I know I don't have time to read every single name on that email, and I'm sure the other trustees probably got it as well. But just there was an email talking about the teachers that above and beyond their their classroom work and their duties and educating the students in their classroom, we have list of teachers that are mentoring students in our CTE pathways. And specifically, this email did a shout out for our education pathway. And I just thought, what a wonderful opportunity for those listening in that maybe don't know the many different pathways that we have for our students. And the many teachers that are going above and beyond their daily duties to really make sure that our students are not just college, but college and career ready. And so just a shout out, not just to the education pathway, but to all of our CTE pathways and the teachers that have gone above and beyond this last year.
A lot of this has already been said, but I also want to just echo the material that we covered today at our study session related to facilities and the needs of our district and how we can look at addressing those needs. It really did feel like the information that we were presented was kind of the culmination of so much information and polling and surveying and talking to school sites and community members and, really kind of understanding what it takes, to get our schools where they need to be, where our families and our students expect them to be. So thank you for everything that was already shared. Like was mentioned, we do have a town hall coming up on the 28th from 6 to 7:30. That's happening here. We also do have an email where you can send any questions or feedback. It's just the more that we hear, the better informed we are and the better, we are at doing that job of really hashing this out. So thank you so much for all of you that take the time to do that. And then, yes, just happy Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. You guys are working so hard. There's so much to do here at the end of the year. There's so much communication that goes out, just like with Ms. Takla, when you were talking about her earlier, these teachers, you guys think about our kids, even when you're not at work, right? Like when there's something going on, they just care. And so I really appreciate that. I hope that they're all getting lots of love on all of their sites. And I will pass it on.
All right, thank you so much. I won't repeat things that have already been said. I will give another shout out, though, for Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. It is, I have to say, May for education is Hair on Fire Month. There's so much that teachers are doing and so much that is expected of school staff right now, especially with state testing and report cards and graduations and having their own children to do all those things for. Just please give your teachers hugs, flowers, whatever they like, extra pencils, whatever makes them happy, especially patience. And then I just wanted to give a shout out to some middle school kiddos who wrote to me this last week. And I think probably other trustees got these emails as well. I'm going to say names, and I do apologize if I mispronounce any of them, but they worked really hard on these emails, and they deserve a shout out. So we had Beckham Auger, Presley Eccleston, Amelia Adams, Alessandra Chiza, I'm so sorry if I mispronounce, Colton Allison, Molly Ryan, and I'm sorry if I missed anyone, but I wanted to share just a closing sentence that several of them used. Trustee Julie Hupp, it's time to give 6th grade through 8th grade students shorter days and longer lunches. And all of their emails were on the same topic, and I really appreciate their teacher giving them this assignment. They did a very good job. They really worked on those essay emails with, they were citing evidence and all kinds of stuff, studies from Harvard, all kinds of great stuff. So shout out to our awesome students and teachers who are guiding them in this way. And that's it for me. Superintendent Stock, do you have some things you'd like to share?
Just a few things, and being married and having a daughter as a teacher, I need to acknowledge Teacher Appreciation Week and Staff Appreciation Week as well, or I don't go home. But again, we are so thankful for those that dedicate themselves to our kids, and really, as any teacher will tell you, it's a vocation, it's a calling, it's not just a job, and we appreciate how they attack that vocation, and we heard so much evidence of that tonight. I'm also thrilled that we are having our 30th annual Employee Recognition and Celebration event next Wednesday at 3:45, and it's a chance to honor those that are retiring, those that have exemplary service. So excited about that. And then, also this month of May is, if you're bored, if you didn't hear that report, there is a dance, there's a concert, there's something to do almost every night. That really is a culmination of our students learning, and so proud to see so much progress made by so many students in our district. And as I always share at this time, our district is open for enrollment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week via our website. We want to make it easy for you to enroll your child, or if you know someone, we want to plan with you in mind. So that's my brief annual commercial.
All right, thank you. So we'll move now to 9.1, the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are to be considered routine and will be enacted by one motion followed by a roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the Board of Trustees requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Any items removed will be voted upon following the motion to approve the consent calendar. Does any trustee wish to remove an item from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action? Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So moved.
Okay, first by Trustee Price,
Second.
second by Trustee Counter. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Isabella Olivares,
Yes.
Rochelle Price,
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff,
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland,
Yes.
Derek Counter,
Yes.
Julie Hupp.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you. So we'll now move to item 10.1, action on Maria Montessori Charter Academy. And we now invite Jennifer Stahlheber, Deputy Superintendent of Business Services, to present item 10.1, action on Maria Montessori Charter Academy petition renewal for July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2031.
Good evening, President Hupp, trustees, Superintendent Stock, members of the public. Tonight, the board is being asked to consider the renewal of the Maria Montessori Charter Academy petition for the term of July 1, 2026 through June 30, 2031. Maria Montessori Charter Academy submitted its renewal petition for continued operation of its K-8 program on February 3, 2026. In accordance with statutory requirements, the board held a duly noticed public hearing on March 18, 2026, at which time representatives from the school provided an overview of the program and petition renewal request. Since that time, district staff and legal counsel have completed a comprehensive review of the petition, including the required findings of fact and evaluation criteria established under the Education Code. Based on that review, staff are recommending approval of the renewal petition for a 5-year term. At this time, I'd like to invite Ms. Brent Boothby, Executive Director of Maria Montessori Charter Academy, forward to provide additional comments and address the board.
These are new for me, so excuse me. All right, good evening, President Hupp, trustees, Superintendent Stock. My name is Adrienne Garcia, and I'm the Assistant Director at Maria Montessori Charter Academy. I am here to speak in regards to our charter renewal that you are about to vote on. Let me ask you, is 5 of 8 really greater than 6 of 6? The CDE would have you think so. But as a math teacher, I know that 63% is less than 100%. What does EDC 47607C actually say for criterion 2 on high-performing schools? 2A, the chartering authority shall not deny renewal for a charter school pursuant to this subdivision if, for 2 consecutive years immediately preceding the renewal decision, for all measurements of academic performance, the charter school has received performance levels school-wide that are the same or higher than the state average, and for a majority of subgroups performing statewide below the state average in each respective year, received performance levels that are higher than the state average. Part 5. To qualify for renewal under Clause 2, the charter school shall have performance levels on at least 2 measurements of academic performance
for at least 2 subgroups. Note, per year is not in the statute. The CDE's new mid-year interpretation change that went into effect in January of 2026. Their rationale was about moving some low-performing charters to middle to avoid the revocation during renewal years. You can see on page 3, MMCA school-wide data exceeds state average for both years. Qualifying subgroup academic data point data exceeds corresponding state levels 6 out of 6 times. That is 100%. And you can't get better than 100%, no matter what the CDE might think.
Good evening, trustees. Good evening, Superintendent Stock. Good evening, staff. First off, I want to thank staff for all of their work in putting through and frankly putting up with me in dealing with this renewal. I know perhaps I should have taken the email class that we've heard about earlier because I've been sending a lot of them lately, and some of them have been getting through and some of them have been delivering the message, and I appreciate your patience with me. I also want to acknowledge when we're celebrating CTE pathways like BITA at Whitney are what gave my kid a scholarship to Boise State right now. So I can very much appreciate the benefits therein and very much support the district in that behalf. As we look at the 4th page, just really quick, from a contextual standpoint and the fun, using the adjective lightly or loosely this evening that we've been dealing with CDE, we did have, to have a qualifying subgroup, you need 30 kids. Within our special education group in 2025, we did have 30 kids. Via parent opt-out, 1 didn't test, we had 29. If you look at our actual numbers, which are still published, we are well over 80 points in both ELA and math with our SPED group last year versus the state average. We asked the state, as they do in other accountability metrics, as a compromise to, hey guys, why aren't you actually following the statute? Why not just give us a 0 for that student? They declined. A 0 on that would, what I thought have been an instant compromise that lets them have their new interpretation of a statute that, again, has not been changed. But here we are. The next page is the slide that you guys saw 6 months ago with Rocklin Academy Gateway. I bring this up now because if this slide is applied to us this year, we would be considered high performing. If you look at the yellow part in particular that's highlighted, where it talks about the 2 academic categories by subgroup, 2 academic data points, and the majority therein, as well as the statewide data, apply this standard to us now, and frankly follow the statute, we are high performing. Now this last page, I laugh a little bit. I have told staff that we had hired Gina Plight, whose prior work at CCSA and other agencies, she's a lobbyist now, and she's had communication on our behalf with SBE and CDE. And I told staff a week and a half ago that, hey, we're gonna get a letter out of CDE that's gonna say something to the effect of, yes, we know that there's stuff going on here, and we know that the school is kind of getting regarding this, and here's how you can get around it. And our guidance is ultimately, technically, it's a school district decision, and basically, how to get around it. And then somebody at CDE figured out, we probably don't want to put pen to paper on how to get around CDE guidance. And so what you're looking at right now is what was orally reflected to Gina. I don't need to go through each of the levels there from my perspective and just summing it up because I know you guys have a long agenda. My response would be, what's the worst thing that can happen if the district recommends 7-year in the high performing? Either CDE is going to agree with it and change their database, which they've already done apparently 8 times with 8 other schools between January and now, or they're going to say, nope, sorry, school didn't have enough kids, it'll be middle performing. There's no risk at all to the district. The only potentially the person that would be affected is our school. And again, do I really care straight up about 5 versus 7 years? I don't. But as we're talking about other things and other issues that are very much in play for our school, how the state is defining via their expansion or replication grant, who gets them and who doesn't, it's worth $1 million to us right now if we're high performing, 0 if we're not. So you can understand as a 2 consecutive time California Distinguished School, why this one matters for us in kind of a big way, particularly with things going on next door to us right now, as you guys are also aware. With that, if anyone has any questions of our perspective, I'm happy to take them at this time.
Trustees, are there any questions?
we do have some people that are here
Yeah.
to speak on our behalf as well.
Yes, we do. Okay, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
So just a reminder, all comments must be addressed to the board. Individual speakers will be allowed 2 minutes to address the board, and time cannot be yielded to anyone else. The board respects each individual's right to express their ideas and expects speakers to refrain from personal attacks based on protected categories under state and federal law, including race, religion, sexual orientation, disability, etc. Please remember that children may be watching. No profanity. All right, I will call up the first person and tell you who's on deck so the next person can be preparing. Up first will be Laura Crouch, and on deck will be David Patterson. Oh. It does say 10.1 on here. That's okay. We'll fix it.
Okay.
All right,
So
so
this is
up
just for
first will be
non-agenda.
David Patterson, and on deck will be Christy Boothby. Okay, sorry. Wrong number on there. So up next will be Robin Stout.
Okay, well, good evening, President Huff, board members, the superintendent. As you all know, I'm Dave Patterson. I'm the trustee of the Placer County Board of Education, and I represent Rocklin. I'm here tonight in support of the renewal of the charter for Maria Montessori Charter Academy. Rocklin is very, very lucky to have such a high-quality Montessori public school choice in our community. The school has earned its renewal. I also want to commend the district and the staff for the quality of its renewal review staff report and the recommendations they make. Now, I've already heard a little bit of discussion, so I'm just going to add a little bit here to say, I know there's been discussion about tiers, school tiers. After 30 years of experience in charter school law and policy, and its many twists and turns, I have some thoughts. However, they don't fit into 2 minutes. So let me just say, there is potentially $1 million question here. $1 million supporting students and families in our community. The law is clear. It does not give the authority to CDE to create a legally binding list. I looked at the law right before the meeting, and the State Board has never established or adopted regulations to even try to do so. So it's not fair or reasonable for CDE to make changes without review and full disclosure. So my best advice is tonight, approve the charter, yes, and if you see the way to do it, to prove it for 5 to 7 years as a high-performing school, do it. They've earned it. If additional information or other stuff is needed, approve that renewal still, but also ask your staff to work with the school to make sure there is clarity about your authority as an authorizer to help bring clarity to this process and make sure that if this school can bring $1 million extra to the community, it does so. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so now Robin, and after Robin will be Brent Boothby.
All right. Good evening, President Hupp, esteemed trustees, and Superintendent Stock. My name is Robin Stout, and I have the honor of being superintendent of Rocklin Academy Family of Schools. I'd like to first begin by expressing my sincere appreciation for the partnership that we've experienced with the district. The collaborative approach, open communication, and shared commitment to all students have made a meaningful difference in our ability to serve families well. I'm here tonight to briefly speak about our recent renewal at Rocklin Academy Gateway and how that experience connects with what's in front of you this evening. As part of our fall 2025 renewal process, the criteria applied to Rocklin Academy Gateway resulted in a 7-year high-track renewal. We are very grateful for that outcome, and we also deeply appreciated the clarity and consistency of the process. It reinforced our shared understanding that when schools demonstrate strong academic outcomes, sound fiscal management, and organizational stability, they should be recognized accordingly. What I'd like to respectfully highlight is the importance of applying those same criteria consistently across all district-sponsored charter schools. As noted in our renewal materials, the governing statute has not changed. What has changed is the interpretation. This creates a moment where consistency and equity in application become especially important. Maria Montessori Charter Academy has demonstrated the qualities of a high-performing school. Given that, I respectfully ask the board to consider whether the same standards and criteria in evaluating Rocklin Academy Gateway can and should be applied here as well. My intent in sharing this is not to challenge, but to support a continued partnership grounded in fairness, transparency, and consistency, values that ultimately serve all of our students in the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So up next is Brent Boothby, and on deck is Adrian Garcia. You don't need to speak again? Okay. Adrian? No? Okay. All right, so then we will move on to Abby O'Neill.
Good evening, board members. My name is Abby O'Neill, and I'm the Director of Local Advocacy with the California Charter School Association. I urge you to approve the Maria Montessori Charter Academy for the full 7-year renewal it deserves. Unfortunately, this case reflects a technical and administrative limitation, not a lack of school performance. Maria Montessori actually had 30 students with disabilities last year, but one parent opted their child out of state testing. As a result, the CDE excluded that student from the subgroup count instead of assigning the student a 0, as is done in other accountability measures. Because of that technicality, the school just fell below the threshold required for inclusion in certain dashboard indicators. Had the subgroup been included, Maria Montessori's outcomes, which consistently outperform state averages, would have qualified the school for a high-track renewal eligibility. This school should not be penalized because of a flaw in the accountability system. The data, the outcomes, and the impact on students clearly support a 7-year renewal. You have the discretion to make the right decision tonight, and I respectfully ask that you do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all who came up and we heard you. And I would like to ask Superintendent Stock, could you please help us understand our recommendation?
Yes, President Hupp, and also I'd like to invite if Deputy Superintendent Stahlheber, if in case I leave something out, to please assist. We do appreciate the Maria Montessori staff and leadership for the smooth renewal process, and that this is not an easy process for either entity. There's a ton of documentation, ton of papers that goes back and forth, and really do want to commend not just their team, but also our team in facilitating a smooth process that in that. And then the other piece is, Mr. Patterson referred to, is there's a ton of education code, litigation, and law that governs charter renewal processes. And because of that, we always take our staff work, in looking through that, and have our legal counsel review it to make sure we didn't misapply the education code or law in making a recommendation. And so the findings of fact, which were posted on the website with the required, I think it's 15 days prior to the meeting, were reviewed by legal counsel to make sure that we fairly and accurately applied the recommendations. And so with that, the term of, so pleased to, report to the board that we did end up recommending a 5-year renewal because there was no question the charter petition deserved to be renewed. And with that, there was dialogue back and forth regarding the issue of a 7-year term if high performing, and if a charter school is determined to be high performing, it can be renewed for 5, 6, or 7 years. Outside of that, the extension of a term is 5 years, and so staff is recommending 5 years. So staff in the district is aware that there is a dispute, if you will, or a difference of opinion between CDE's January interpretation and what they have done previous, and we know that Maria Montessori is working with advocates to try to attempt to get that changed. And we've encouraged that, and that has, as you heard the update from their staff, not been completed, and has been, and so we also worked with our legal counsel to understand some of the issues related to this, and what we've received in advice from legal counsel is the district's not required to make an actual determination regarding a performance status. So there is not a legal requirement in terms of having to do so, because we don't want to make a finding when we know this issue's in dispute between, no, we're saying you're middle performing, or no, you're high performing, because the 5 to 7 year range, the term we give does not designate the status. We also, we're very open that if this can be resolved with CDE, that we would welcome a updated or amended petition with that we could consider and grant the 7 year term. That's not at all, we are not against that. I think we demonstrated that with the gateway renewal process. And so, and then the other piece we look to see is we do understand through the communication with Maria Montessori that they are applying for, and I'll get the term wrong, but an model charter expansion grant. And we have done our best to facilitate those, and we brought documents to the board for approval, certifying to need and enrollment. We've actually signed off on documentation, I think, in the last day or two related to that. So we want to do our help to facilitate that. But in our information from our legal counsel is that that the district inaction on making a determination does not make a finding of fact in that process, because it's a state allocation board, and they look to CDE, not necessarily to us. Now, you could dispute that in different manners, but since the district is not required to make a finding, our legal counsel says that we would not inflict any potential harm on Maria Montessori in that application process for a model charter, because that's not our intent at all. So given that information, we made the 5-year recommendation, and again, we would welcome if that is resolved on that interpretation, that we would welcome an amended petition and be able to consider that length of time. So that's not at all the reason for this, and so. That is my long-winded answer on kind of explaining the rationale behind the staff made the recommendation to the board.
Okay, go ahead.
So this isn't an easy one. Face value, it is easy because I think it is always an incredible gift to a community when we can have great educational opportunities for our students. That's a gift to all of us. That's a gift to our entire city. That's a gift to our district. And I think it's also our responsibility as local electeds to ensure every student has an opportunity to thrive. And for some students, that looks different, and that's okay. And for some families, they choose different options, and that's okay. I'm a huge proponent of school choice, a huge proponent of the many great charters that we have here in Rocklin, and I'm happy to sing their praises. When this first came before me, colleagues, I started asking a lot of questions because I really wanted to understand why this classification changed or this designation, and I appreciate Superintendent Stock, your clarification there. I have no desire to try to make a designation. That's not my role. That's not my place, but I have encountered with CDE a time or two that there are sometimes administrative protocols or guidance that I don't feel are always in the best interest of the students. And in many ways, when we look into them and try to understand them, they're not consistent with the data points. And so for me, what was really interesting is seeing when this change happened and why it happened. And that really changed things for me. I appreciate the presentation brought tonight by Maria Montessori and the comments that were made from multiple individuals. When we're looking at this criterion and making a decision, 2 years prior, this change was made by CDE January. And so it changed things for me when I realized in December, Maria Montessori, by every measure that I could find, was high performing. They were acknowledged as high performing. No data has changed since December. And I actually dug deep and really asked and said, hey, I want to give an unbiased perspective here, because there is a responsibility on this board when we're authorizing and we're granting, whether it's a 5-year, a 6-year, a 7-year, that we also look at the data and we be consistent with that. And I'll be honest, I was prepared to have those difficult conversations and say, hey, the data doesn't look good, guys. But the data does look good. So this is where I'm confused as a trustee, because we're looking at an administrative change to really the rubric that the State Board of Education is using that just happened in January. And if we had visited this in December, I can't speak for you, but I can speak for myself and say I wouldn't have batted an eye. I wouldn't have been concerned. I've heard from multiple families that appreciate the option they have, having Maria Montessori. And so for me, what I'm struggling with is the idea that I would do anything less than 7 years, because I don't see data with their performance, their academic levels, that shows a concern to do so. And that's coming from our own data that I asked from our district as well. And so I really look at this as, if I'm going to ask a charter to have to come back to us earlier than that, I feel there has to be a really valid reason to do that, because that costs time, that costs money. I don't think any of us are interested in more taxpayer dollars being spent on more meetings that are unnecessary. And so for me, I'm really struggling with a notion to, I so appreciate the recommendation of staff. And this is my struggle here, because I want to go with recommendations, but it's also my responsibility to look at the actual data and say, I'm not comfortable telling a charter in our school district that it could affect, let's be honest, it could affect the $1 million. No, there's not evidence to say that it would, but there's also not a guaranteed evidence to say that it wouldn't. So I'm really nervous to do anything that could hinder a charter from bringing $1 million back to our community. That's a win for everyone in our community. And so I have other thoughts. Those are some of them. Happy to engage more. If I'm the sole one here, that's okay. But again, I'm not seeing the data that says that there's not indicators of academic performance that would put me in a place for me to decide to make this charter have to come back sooner to us. When again, if we had had this conversation in December, and again, data hasn't changed since then, it wouldn't have been a bad of an eye for me.
Any other comments? Sorry. We have to have our debate. Superintendent Stock, was there something that you would add to that?
You know, if Mr. Boothby has additional information, then I think it's important for the board to go ahead and hear that.
I apologize for interrupting, guys, and I know I'm breaking protocol, and I don't mean to. The only clarification I had is when Superintendent Stock was accurately describing the charter schools facility program money and all of the support, which we very much appreciate from the district, that's a completely different ball of wax than the $1 million I'm talking about. The $1 million I'm talking about is related to a federal-based, instructionally related grant that the CDE is administering through the CDE, where it specifically says charters that are eligible for replication or expansion, and it's based on that high criteria. Those that aren't high don't get it. So that, when we're talking about that $1 million, that's that. It's not the Charter Schools Facility Program, or CSFP, a different acronym. that you guys are also, which we very much appreciate, helping us out with those fundings too. It's 2 separate pools. I just wanted to make sure we're talking, the one is facilities, the other is academic. And this 1 million is academic specific. That's the only clarification I have.
Okay, hold on. While you're up here, I need more clarification on that then. The $1 million, how is it related to the 5-year, 7-year difference?
California determines it based on whether or not you're labeled as high or middle performing.
So how does the 5-year, 7-year difference change your label with CDE or with California?
High, technically, CDE isn't as clear cut as we just made it out across the board. High, middle, and low is how CDE categorizes charters in their spreadsheet right now. Those that are high are eligible for the grant. Those that are middle or low are not.
So I understand that, but how does 5 or 7 years from your district change how they label you?
7 is assumed as high. 5 is middle or high.
But
And
we,
so the
but we
label
are not the
specifically-
determining body for that. So even if
I believe
we
you
said-
are, but that's a
But
different
CDE
part of
would
the
then
conversation.
change
CDE
their
has
criteria
changed
based on
based
what
on
we
district
determine?
recommendations. There's been 8 thus far since January.
Maybe I can chime in here on this one if that's okay, and I appreciate for that additional piece of information. I think the struggle, or at least for me, and I'm hearing some of the back and forth, is I wouldn't feel comfortable making a statement right now based off of your performance designation. All I have is a set of data points that shows me how successful you've been as a charter in our area. So really the decision before us tonight is in a possible approval of the charter and for how long. Now, I recognize that one point of concern could be that the charter could try to use that to say whether the district supports them or not. And I'm okay to actually speak that elephant out right now. I'm making my decisions tonight based off of what I've heard and leaning towards the data points that I'm looking at. I don't have an academic performance concern. And so this notion that there would be a concern with a charter telling SBE that their authorizer doesn't have an academic concern, I'm okay with that because the data shows us there's no academic concern. I don't think it puts us in a place where we're held responsible. We're not voting or speaking on a designation. I want to make that clear. And so, Mr. Boothby, I'm sure that might be a difficult point for you. I think that's a difficult place to put trustees in for them to be responsible to make a designation. That I hear you that the state law does not hold the district responsible to SBE's documents of designation, but on the flip, a trustee or a board of governance usurping that to say that they would change the designation, I also think could cause some concern. What I am comfortable with is saying, looking at the academic indicators that I am seeing that we use for our approval process, I do see these high levels of academic performance that would have been consistent and is consistent with us granting 7 years because there aren't academic performance concerns that I'm seeing. Does that help clarify, trustees, some of the concern?
Some of it, but I think there is more to the approval than just whether or not there's academic concerns. I think we need to make sure that all the ducks are in a row. If we're going to go for the 7-year approval rather than the 5-year approval, all the ducks aren't in a row yet. It's not that we don't want to do the 7-year approval based on their academic performance. I'm happy to do the 5-year and then have them come back when all their ducks are in a row and do the 7-year as the next step, but I don't know why we would jump over.
I'll be honest, my reasoning why, because that was my initial. For me, just personally, and I know everything we do comes with a risk, because I know how long things take at the state. And I know when I dug in and again looked at it, that it wasn't due to a drop in academic performance. It made me feel comfortable saying that I'm okay with allowing them to have that 7 years so they can move forward and continue on focusing on educating the students. If this was something that was a detriment, then I would be concerned and say, hey, we need to halt this process. For me, that's the piece that I'm using to say, I know that this can be drug out with the SPE for years, and yet they have a possibility of being awarded an additional $1 million. I don't know why we'd stop that.
I don't necessarily want to be the negative voice. That's not my intention. But I feel like if it was just one of our schools that we were talking about, we would tell our district to get it all together before we approved it. I don't feel like we would jump ahead of having everything done. If it was inside of our own offices, we would say, why are you bringing it to me yet? Like, get it ready, and then we'll vote on it. Like, I'm happy to do the 5-year because I feel like that gives them the opportunity to still continue on and finish the process. But I don't feel like if it was within our own system, we would do it if it wasn't ready and finished.
I tend to agree with President Hupp on this, not because I don't understand the situation and the predicament that you've been put in, but I also agree with being more than happy to look at a 7-year kind of amendment to 7 years upon receiving that. I think there's a reason why we are not in the position to make that determination. I especially right now, would not feel comfortable speaking to, the designation that CDE gives. And, even hearing, well, if we were to do that, that would reflect that. It sounds like the implications are maybe more than just 5 or 7. I also feel very confident with 5 years. We are very fortunate to have you in the community, and I'm very happy that we will continue to have you teaching our kids. I'm on the same page.
And we, of course, appreciate that. And from our side, we absolutely support and, understand and feel the support of both the trustees and the staff. I don't see this as I've tried for 12 years since Superintendent Stock has been here to not have an adversarial relationship, and frankly, I don't believe we do. I don't see this as adversarial in any way, and I recognize it's not the district that's causing this issue. But on the other side, when we're talking about, hey, get our ducks in a row, I'm not sure what other ducks we could get in a row. Because at this point, it's essentially a CDE staff level determination where they're choosing not to follow the plain language of the statute. And in that regard, I think that it is the district's obligation to follow the statute, and that part in the statute, it actually expressly says to do so. Ultimately, what I'm asking tonight is for the district to follow the statute when they're making their determination. Thank you, guys.
I was just going to ask if there were any other thoughts on the matter.
Superintendent Stock, can you speak to consistency? What have we done with Rocklin Academy? And do we have any risks to renewing for 7? I feel comfortable, really comfortable with 5, but I do think that there is something to be said for, we speak to the data that we have, and also the time that it takes. This takes a lot of our staff time, it takes a lot of their staff time. If there is a reason to, or if there's not a threat to us, what are the cons that we haven't heard of or thought about?
I think there were, I think there's a couple pieces just in play is if the district were to say we will make a determination, or even if CDE had a high performing.
Not a determination. I
Right.
don't want to make a
Yeah, yeah.
determination. If we renew for 7.
Yeah, if we renew for 7, then in essence, we have said we're not following, the way CDE interprets education code in classifying the charter school as high performing. Is only high performing charter schools can be renewed for beyond 5 years. So in essence, we're saying even though CDE has made their interpretation, we are making a different interpretation and renewing for 6 or 7, because you could be high performing and a board or district could only grant 5-year renewal. So the 7, 5, 6, or 7 is high performing. So, in essence, the district could even say, okay, you're high performing in designation, but we're going to give you 5 years. I mean, that's an option as well. So the other piece that I think, as far as with how we've handled others, is we have relied on CDE's interpretation. We followed that with the Gateway renewal in October. We did. We looked at that. We followed that and recommended happily a 7-year term of renewal. Did the interpretation change in January? It did, and you know, and candidly, the petition could have been submitted sooner, but it didn't. And I get that that's a calendar and that's not a piece, but we would have applied the same rule. But this is where that did change. And then, as far as this related to the expansion in the federal grant and funding, you know, again, what I thought, you know, what Mr. Boothby said was, I appreciate is, look, this may give us an indication. There's no guarantee that doing this will mean that we're eligible for the funding, but we could claim it's an indication from our authorizer in that, because we wouldn't if we didn't making a determination. But since CDE, the state administers a grant, you would think the state is going to look at their own entity for where they're at. And even as, you know, we looked into some of this, CDE's data files, and Mr. Boothby, you probably know this much deeper than I do, but their data files from March and of 24 and 25 listed MCA as a middle performing schools. And I, again, without the pieces, there's usually a 2-year of consecutiveness in that piece to be designated high performing. So if you look at the CDE data files on their performance piece, and I'm knowing MMCA is a fantastic academic program, but their CDE's data files showed 2 years under the previous interpretation that was shared with us of middle performing. And to move to high, you need 2 consecutive years. So even if you applied that now, you have that other year of middle performing. So that's the space of, you know, looking at why do we go into such detail to try to look and understand this? Because again, in no way are we wanting to make any recommendation that would bring harm to MMCA and the program they have. And so,
are you saying that a 5-year isn't a designation of anything? It could be a 5-year could still be high performing.
Yes, there's a range of 5, 6, or 7 for high performing schools.
Okay.
You know, I hear and balance the concern, and so trying to find hearing a 5, 6, or 7 year, just to clarify, would be consistent with high performing. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm hearing just a little, I've heard different on that, so I just want to make sure that I'm clear on the record. A 5, 6, or 7 would be considered high performing, correct?
Correct, and I'm consulting my
Okay, thank you.
No,
Superintendent Stock, I'm sorry, we're putting you on the spot. I just want to make sure a lot of time went into this evening, that we do its proper service. So while you look at that, if I could just share with my colleagues one last thought, and then I think I'm getting there on a possibility of a motion. I appreciated the idea or the concept of ducks in a row and making sure, you know, how would we hold our own campuses accountable? I think the sticky point for this one for me with a charter is we have the resources of 17 campuses. We have the resources of an entire district office. Our charters don't always have that. And so although it may not necessarily be our district's resources responsibilities, I do think as an elected in the community, it is my responsibility to advocate for all of the families in our community. And so the thing I'm struggling with is this charter is having to hire a lobbyist, having to spend those dollars to try to advocate to, I mean, I'll say it, the beast of SBE. And that is what concerns me, because I don't think, I have no ill against them doing that. It actually, I think it's a system that's very unfair to an independent charter, that they don't have those resources always to be able to do that. So that's my struggle here, not to try to be difficult, not to just try to push for the 7-year, but to say, if we don't see an academic concern, I want to be very careful that we're not unintentionally penalizing a charter and asking them to go fight a fight with the state that in all reality, we have more resources and we have more possibly ability to assist in that. That was all. Not that I want to open up a concern, just to simply say, if I'm looking at the data, in December, I wouldn't have had a concern, and so it's hard for me now, just months later, to have a concern. With that, hearing my colleagues on the board, did we get clarification on the 5-year?
Yes, according to a memo from legal counsel, high-performing charter schools may be renewed for a term of 5 to 7 years, so that even if MMCA were high-performing, the district's proposed 5-year term would still be legally compliant.
Okay, so it is considered high-performing?
A term of 5 to 7 years.
Okay.
The range on middle performing, I do not know. It's 5, max is at 5. Yeah. Oh, just 5, thank you, yeah. Yeah, so it's just 5, sorry, thank you. And that's right, and low performing can have a lower 2-year, and then high can go 5, 6, or 7 years. I got that.
Anything else?
It's just one more, just to understand a process. If whatever comes out, if it's 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever the number is, if they reapplied, if a process, however you want to say it, get ducks in a row, however you want to say it, goes through, is it just an amendment to add the difference? So if it's 5, you come back, we add 2, or they come back and it's 7 on top of the 5? I'm just trying to
We would
understand.
add the 2.
Okay, just add 2, okay.
And we wouldn't have to do a complete review because we would know, we just reviewed them, everything was in order. The only change was the performance category per CDE's website, which we reviewed when we also performed the Gateway Charter renewal.
It's not started
And we did
over.
look at 2 years worth of data. But I don't know, is CDE also going to change the prior year data then?
The bottom line, guys, is the statute hasn't changed. So the threshold of the statute from the fall with Gateway and us is the same as the CD's staffing depreciation.
Okay, could I get clarification? I think we're having a little, some clarification. So when we're saying this 2-year data, could we, if I could phrase it this way, it might help. If December, Maria Montessori came before us, would the recommendation have been for 7 years? When we're saying the data looks different for 2 years back, is that based off of the new rubric in 2026? Prior to this new administrative rubric that we've heard literally is because one student opted out, which is great. I think they have an option to do that. What I'm asking for is not this point in time, the new rubric, what does the last 2 years look like? Back in December, prior to this new rubric, I was under the understanding that the data of the prior 2 years, as of December 2025, was high performing. Is that correct or no?
I have not done any analysis to designate a charter high, middle, or low performing. I go out to CDE website, I pull the data files, and I look for the most current 2 years worth of data. And that's what I did for Gateway. That's what we did if we were approving Rocklin Academy Family and Charter. I would just go to those data files and I pull those in for my backup for why we would make a recommendation one way or another.
I understand. So that data point, that was pulled after January 2026.
Right.
Okay, so really then when we're talking about the 2 years or not, I can understand where there could be some discrepancy there. If this new rubric went into place, we've been informed that Maria Montessori believes their prior 2 years were high performing. Again, I'm wanting to be careful. I'm not trying to get into a designation. I am trying to understand why we would limit the years. I am hearing my colleagues on the board. I share with you, I think that's a valid point that when we're talking prior 2 years, we're talking after January 2026 when this new administrative change happened. Does that change anything for my colleagues on the board?
No, because I don't have that data to look at, only what we've been told by our staff that it says.
Okay, how about this? Could I make a motion that Maria Montessori has been through a lot of hoops to get here tonight. Let's help them out. Let's approve. I'm hearing a consensus I could get of 5 years. Could I add on to that it would be 7 years without them having to come back to us? Can we approve today that it would be 7 years in the event SBE changes the classification for them? So they don't have to come back again?
Superintendent Stock, is that legal?
It would be legal in terms of, you've said, here's we're approving as we are required the 5-year based on all the legal findings, but we're amending it to say we would not require you to resubmit paperwork. If this changes, it would be conditional. The only suggestion I would make, instead of a SBE, I would do CDE, since they made the determination. But what it is it's trying to say, I hear the intent sounds like it's trying to save them the additional step in paperwork to say, once that's done, that would automatically switch to a 7-year term. And I don't see any reason why that would.
And the intent.
Adjusted.
The intent for me too is to show this year 5 to 7 isn't because the authorizing district has concerns with Maria Montessori. This is, there's full support from Rocklin Unified for Maria Montessori. This is contingent upon CDE, an administrative error that they're working through.
Yeah. There's no legal issue.
I actually like that because I think it covers your main concern, which was the expense that they were going to have to pay and all the time and refiling. So I think that sounds like a reasonable compromise.
It also, for me, is consistent with what we've done, which is important.
I'm in agreement with that as well. If it was 5 years approved, amend to 7 without having to go through this process, adjusted for however much time has passed from the authorization start.
Do you want to do that as an official motion, and we'll see if there's a second? Okay.
Yeah, just real quick question, and I have no problem doing the second part as in advance. Just expectations, so we're all clear. So I guess, again, from a Maria Montessori standpoint, everybody, yes, we go through the vote, all that stuff's fine. Are they, like who, they have to go file with CDE and get some information, or is it us looking up some information? Like, is it, I guess I'm just trying to figure out is who's doing what when so that it becomes official. So I just don't want to go through this in September, October and be like, okay, what did we say and what are we looking for? And who's
Superintendent Stock, can you answer that? Because it's our staff, I'm sure, that's wanting the answer to that.
No, that's, I appreciate that. So either CDE making the change on their website, or if they provide us written documentation that they had evaluated and made the change, would be fine. We would want, again, I hate to say it because we're a litigious society, we'd want it all in writing. So nobody could dispute that versus a verbal conversation. But if they change the designated website, or they provided written documentation to Maria Montessori, the district, around the designation change, we would consider that enough information to enact.
Okay, so Trustee Counter, did you second the motion?
Yeah, just, and real quick, so this is for 25 to 2030 or 26 to 31 is the 5. And then I just want to make sure my dates are square. So does it go to 30 for the 5-year and then 32 for the 7?
No, I think it's 31 for the 5-year.
31 for the 5 and 33 for the 7. Okay, just so I can do my math. So yes, I second.
Okay, so first by Trustee Sadoff, second by Trustee Counter. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Isabella Olivares.
Yes.
Rochelle Price.
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland.
Yes.
Derek Counter.
Yes.
Julie Hupp.
Yes, motion passes. And I do want to comment on Maria Montessori. I have had very positive experiences with your school in particular. My goddaughter went there, and I volunteered there several years ago, and it was a beautiful school with wonderful staff and excellent teachers, and we are thrilled to have you under our umbrella. Thank you. All right, so we will now move on to item 10.2. And we invite Greg Snyder, Director of Personnel Services, to present item 10.2, Resolution 252632, final resolution to reduce or eliminate classified school services for the 26-27 school year.
Is that a gavel?
And to those of you who are leaving, have a good evening.
Good evening, President Hupp, trustees, and Superintendent Stock. My name is Greg Snyder, and I'm here to present Resolution 252632, final resolution to reduce or eliminate classified school services for the 2026-27 school year. On March 4th, 2026, the board took action on Resolution 25-26-27, a resolution to reduce classified school services for the 26-27 school year, pursuant to Education Codes 45101, 45114, 45117, 45298, and 45308. The Education Code requires districts to give preliminary notice no later than March 15th, 2026. Based on the current needs of the district due to enrollment changes and the annual process the district follows to right-size sites necessitates reduction in particular kinds of services programs, the district will be using final reduction in force layoff notices to employees. Issuing notices and making other reductions will provide the district with maximum flexibility to meet its financial obligations due to annual enrollment fluctuation at specific schools for 2026-27. Due to the California Education Code notice deadline of May 15th, the following resolution is to dismiss those classified employees and/or positions. Staff is now presenting the Board of Trustees for action Resolution 25-26-32, final resolution to reduce or eliminate classified school services for the 2026-27 school year prior to the May 15th deadline.
Thank you so much. Are there any comments or questions?
Just a point of clarification, because I know we get to dive deep with the superintendent. This is, could you clarify for the public, this is a right sizing of the district? To your knowledge, are there any elimination of programs because of this change?
That is accurate. This is right sizing or reduction of staffing. There are no affected layoffs for employees. All of those employees have positions that they were able to move into.
Great, okay, because we are hearing throughout the state where we see many districts that are in very difficult situations where they are having to lay off staff because of a lack of, let's just say, budgetary planning over the years. That's not the case here. This is right sizing. Due to enrollment, we're just making sure on our campuses that we have the right ratio of staff for students, correct?
That is accurate.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, is there a motion to approve Resolution 252632, final resolution to reduce or eliminate classified school services for the 26-27 school year?
So moved.
First by Trustee Sutherland,
Second.
second by Trustee Price. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Isabella Oliveras.
Yes.
Rochelle Price.
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland.
Yes.
Derek Counter.
Yes.
Julie Hupp.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you. And Greg, will you please continue with Resolution 252633, final resolution to reduce or eliminate particular services pursuant to Education Code 44955?
Yes, thank you. So the next resolution is 25-26-33, the final resolution to reduce or eliminate particular services pursuant to Education Code 44955. On March 4th, 2026, the board took action on Resolution 25-26-28, a resolution authorizing the layoff of certificated positions pursuant to Education Code 44955, effective June 30th, 2026. Education Code requires districts to give preliminary notice no later than March 15th of 2026. Based on the current needs of the district due to enrollment changes and the annual process the district follows to right-size sites, it necessitates reductions in particular kinds of services and programs. Issuing notices and making other reductions will provide the district with maximum flexibility to meet its financial obligations for the 2026-27 school year. This resolution to reduce or eliminate particular kinds of services has been developed, listing the services affected by the reduction in force. Due to the California Education Code notice deadline of May 15th, the following resolution is to dismiss these certificated employees and/or positions. Staff is now presenting to the Board of Trustees for action Resolution 25-26-33, final resolution to reduce or eliminate particular kinds of services pursuant to Education Code 44955 prior to the May 15th deadline.
All right, trustees, comments, questions?
I know you said the word right sizing, I heard it, but this one always can sometimes get tricky for those reading in that maybe don't come from an education background. It's titled Reduce or Eliminate Particular Services, not because we're eliminating any specific programs, but because that is actually the legitimate legal title for this item. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So again, this is purely right sizing based off of enrollment. We don't expect to see any programs eliminated because of this. I know it says eliminate in the title, so I just want to be clear.
That is correct. All of these are affected either by retirements or resignations. So all positions have been filled by employees. Nobody's lost their job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 252633, final resolution to reduce or eliminate particular services pursuant to Education Code 44955?
So moved.
First by Trustee Sutherland,
Second.
second by Trustee Price. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Isabella Olivares.
Yes.
Rochelle Price.
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland.
Yes.
Derek Counter.
Yes.
Julie Hupp.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you very much. And so next we have Rain Kernitsky, Senior Director of Facilities, Maintenance and Operations, to hold public hearing to increase school facilities impact fees on residential and commercial development, effective July 6, 2026, and action on Resolution 252640, authorizing an increase to statutory school facilities developer fees.
Good evening, President Hupp, trustees, and Superintendent Stock. Earlier this evening, the board approved item 9.9, the 2026 Development Impact Fee Nexus Study on the consent agenda, and now staff would like to recommend holding a public hearing with regard to the proposed increase in school development fees for residential construction from $5.17 per square foot to $5.38. For commercial construction, the proposed increase is to go from 84 cents to 87 cents per square foot. This would take place effective July 4th, 2026.
Okay, Rain, I do have a question about this, and we might want to throw it to Jennifer, but how much will this bring into our district? How much income could this bring into our district?
So when we project our developer fees, we assume that there'll be some type of increase every other year based on decisions made at the State Allocation Board. And so we do include that, but I can't tell you exactly what that number of the increase is because we use more of trend analysis for our projections. And so I don't know if you recall, but part of a board study session we did in January 2024 when we were discussing the $58 million capital facilities projects, we looked at some of the funds we expected to receive, which included developer fees to fund that $58 million project. And at that time, we prepared a cash flow based on rates at that time. Well, since then, developers have pulled permits at a faster rate, which have accelerated the cash flow for that. And so right now we're projecting, I think, 1.8 for next year in developer fees. But originally we had been projecting 300,000 because they were going to pull the permits at a much slower pace. They've accelerated it, and we know we're pretty close to build out. Matter of fact, we have Russ here who prepares and does a lot of analysis on our behalf. We work with EPS. And if you've read the report, you probably saw that we're under 2,000 homes left projected for the city of Rocklin through build out.
Okay, so just to clarify, we're looking at approximately 1.5 added to the budget.
Not because of this, but it's just, that's what we expect in our projecting in our cash flow for Fund 25, which is where developer fees are received.
Okay, but not because of this. This is just a small portion of that 1.5.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
So I guess this is an annual, or this is a every other year?
on
Okay.
even years.
When we did this 2 years ago, was it about a 3.5% increase? I'm just doing the quick math, right?
It's pretty close. It's pretty close. I looked at the presentation from last year, or 2 years.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I will now open the public hearing. Are there any comments? Okay. Then I will now close the public hearing. Thank you very much.
Of course.
And now, is there a motion to approve Resolution 252640, authorizing an increase to statutory school facilities developer fees?
Staying consistent with everything, so moved.
First by Trustee Counter,
Second.
second by Trustee Price. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Isabella Oliveris.
Yes.
Rochelle Price.
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland.
Yes.
Derek Counter.
Yes.
Julie Hupp.
Yes. Motion passes. That was a yes for Sutherland, in case you didn't hear that. I did. Sat off. Yeah. Okay. On to 10.5, Marty Flowers, Associate Superintendent, Secondary Education, is back to present revisions to Board Policy and Administrative Regulation 3515, Campus Security.
President Hupp, Trustees, Superintendent Stock, the proposed revisions to Board Policy and Administrative Regulations 3515, Campus Security, are consistent with current practices that ensure Rocklin Unified School District complies with the required components of current legislation. The proposed revisions were presented as an information item at the previous board meeting and are being presented here tonight as an action item. The only addition to the proposal is found on the policy on campus security. The last in the red at the request of Trustee Sadoff, we added in, the district shall partner with Rocklin Police Department and other law enforcement agencies as necessary.
All right, thank you so much. Are there any board questions or comments? Okay. Yeah.
I was just going to say thank you for making that change. I appreciate that. That was really important to me, and I, again, appreciate our law enforcement, and I think the more that we can include them in our safety and security plans, always the better. So thank you for that. Regarding that change, I would be happy to make a motion.
Okay. So first by Trustee Sadoff.
Second.
Second by Trustee Counter. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Isabella Oliveris.
Yes.
Rochelle Price.
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland.
Yes.
Derek Counter.
Yes.
Julie Hupp.
Yes, thank you. Motion passes. All right, now for item 10.6, Greg Snyder, Director of Personnel Services, will present the appointment of Associate Superintendent Educational Services.
Hello again. All right, so the Education Services Department has had the same structure for the last 6 years, which has served the district well. However, it was necessary and timely to review the educational services structure. Multiple recommendations were approved by the board at the April 22nd board meeting. Many of these changes were updating and revising current positions in the Educational Services Department. Additionally, the board approved the creation of a new position, Associate Superintendent of Educational Services. The superintendent is recommending to the board that Beth Davidson, the Director of Academic Improvement and MTSS, be appointed to the position of Associate Superintendent of Education Services. Her current director position will be eliminated. This new position will combine and align much of the work that is done TK through 12 related to support for students, families, and schools, including the LCAP. Beth has a long track record of successful leadership in the Rocklin Unified School District as a teacher, site administrator, and district leader.
Excellent, thank you so much. Are there any board comments or questions?
I just wish that Beth was here so we could give her a public shout out. Beth is one of our superstars, and I'm more than happy to make the motion.
We will bring her to introduce you
Good.
formally in May 27th.
Perfect.
It would be presumptuous to attend.
Oh, not with us. We're fans of hers.
Then I'll second.
Yes, I'm happy to officially make the motion.
A second.
Oh.
Third, we could do second, third,
All
fourth,
right.
fifth, we can go all
Yes, third, fourth, fifth. All right, so it was, I think, officially first by Trustee Price and second by Trustee Sadoff. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Isabella Oliveris.
Yes.
Rochelle Price.
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland.
Yes.
Derek Counter.
Yes.
Julie Hupp.
Yes, motion happily passes. All right, on to item 11.1. Marty Flowers, Associate Superintendent, Secondary Education, will present the addition of Board Policy 5131.8, Mobile Communication Devices, and revision to Board Policy 5131, Conduct.
President Hub, Trustee, Superintendent Stock, in response to Assembly Bill 3216 that was reviewed at the November 19th, 2025 board meeting, Rocklin Unified School District is required to update its policies regarding students' smartphone use by July 1st of 2026. The proposed addition of Board Policy 5131.8, Mobile Communication Devices, and revision to Board Policy 5131, Conduct, are consistent with current practices that ensure Rocklin Unified School District complies with required components of current legislation. The proposed additions and revisions are being presented as an information item with a possible action item on May 27th board meeting. As you look at this, if you do recall, when this was presented back in November, there was really only 4 pieces missing at that time that are found in the policy now. And it really states that possession or use of cell phones under these circumstances: 1, in case of an emergency or response to a perceived threat; 2, with the permission of a teacher or an administrator; 3, with a licensed physician or surgeon determines possession is necessary; and then 4, possession or use is required by a student's individual education plan. Once again, there has been discussions, and at the previous time discussed about trying to get the 2 middle schools on the same page, and moving forward, they will be on the same page. Yay. So TK through 8th grade, the plan will be that those phones are off and in the back packet, out of sight. And again, at the high schools, they would continue to use the pocket that has been very successful. So at this time, I'm happy to answer any questions about these proposals.
Trustees, are there any questions?
No, just comment. I appreciate the work on this. I'm happy to hear about the adjustment to middle school policy. I think it's very appropriate. Helps, students to figure out how to be attentive students as they have more academic demands placed, more engaged with each other on campus, and obviously with just safety and access to things during the school day. So thank you.
I got one real, it's probably more on the conduct, and just, so there's a .7 that says possession, use, or being under the influence of tobacco, alcohol, other prohibited substance. I know we've had a lot of conversation about vapes and stuff. I don't want to extend it too much, but I'm guessing the vape just falls under the other substances.
That is true. That falls right under that category.
Cool. Thank you.
So I had a question on the policy 5131.8. The second sentence, or I guess second paragraph, but it's one sentence long, says students shall not use smartphones or other mobile communication devices while at a school site or under the supervision and control of a district employee. So I was a little surprised to see that statement. Previous conversation I thought was, and I thought I heard it right now, but maybe I'm misunderstanding, that K through 8th would be not during classroom time instruction. But as I'm reading that, I'm interpreting that to say that they cannot have their phone on the school site at all. Could you clarify that statement?
I appreciate you asking the question. CSBA recommended 2 different options. You could have one that said limited use. However, since this is a district policy, we went with option 2 that has this statement, because if you look at that, it says, however, and then when you go down to number 2, when a teacher or administrator grants permission. So it kind of falls in that category. I agree with you that the wording of that is questionable. I'd be happy to rewrite that. But this is based off the CSBA recommendations.
Yeah, I actually felt reading the entire thing, there was multiple sections where it really spoke to me, colleagues, more of we won't allow phones on campuses at all unless an exception is made for a student. And that was new to me. I hadn't heard that direction or conversation from us or from really our district. So yes, that sentence in specific, I felt was very counter to what I feel I have heard the consensus in the past, unless something has changed. But overall, even the first paragraph, kind of the last sentence, I mean, I had to reread it so many times. I do think how it's worded is worded in such a way of no cell phone on campus unless you are giving an exception. And that was not something I was interested in at this time. I understand there was a law change that is requiring schools to have a policy, but that there was still a lot of local control and local decision making. And when this was last talked about, I had a lot of conversation at different grade levels with parents and some staff. And really felt like what we were actually doing on campuses was working well for our district. We just needed to make it formal in policy. So I guess I'm struggling a little bit because there's I don't know, like, colleagues, do you want me to go line by line? Because there's if I'm honest with you, there's multiple pieces of verbiage that are giving to me, the intent of this policy is to not allow at all unless approved by an administrator or a staff member, and that I would have concern with.
I think, and this is the tough part of policy, and it's written in the negative. It's very, don't do this unless I give you, and I'm wondering, is there a way to say the intent is that we, away, out of sight, like it's not, absolutely not, under no circumstance unless I tell you, it's more of, restrict the use, let's attentive focus, and then if it's needed, it can be allowed. I just don't know if there's a better way of writing it.
I would be happy to work on this, and then I could put this together and provide you updated information through a board communication, and then bring it back at that time to answer questions. I'd be happy to do that.
I agree. And I think since there are two separate approaches, K through 8 versus high school, it would be fine to specify those, right? And I agree with positive language where really in practice, the middle school policy would be students may access their cell phone before and after school hours, right?
In case of emergency.
Yeah, and so there's no gray area that they're being told you can't bring it, and then there are all of these other exceptions below.
Yeah, I always prefer to see things written in the positive rather than in the negative. It's just, I think, easier to understand and clearer to interpret. So I guess the direction is please take it back and
Sounds good.
see what you
I
can do.
appreciate the feedback. I will do
Trustees,
that.
would you like this back as an information item
Yes,
again,
please.
or as an
I
action
would.
item?
Yes.
Just because there's so much, if it could be
Yeah.
an info. And I would even lean towards like whether you want to have an AR, associated with it that was point blank clear that it's speaking specifically to classroom use or classroom time was our concern. So I am going to want to see clarification in there that they are able to have access to their cell phone during non-classroom time, and if we want to discuss, recess or discuss, that's a different one. But my primary concern is that before, after school care, needing a ride, some of those pieces.
I think that might need further discussion because I think one middle school had them in their backpacks during the school day. Yeah, and one allowed them during break. And I think
they will both be in the backpack
during the
next
school
year.
day.
However, we will bring this back as an information on May 27th, and then for action on June 10th. We are required to have action before July 1, so we'll just bring it back in that sequence for you.
Great.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello. Okay. Hi. Sorry I didn't introduce you yet. Okay, we'll now welcome Leslie Holmes, Director of Special Education, to provide a special education update, which we are very excited about. We haven't seen one in a while.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. President Hupp, Vice President Sadoff, board members, Superintendent Stock. I'm happy to be here and give you some updates on our special education department and the work that we've been doing to support students across all of our sites today. Sorry. Okay. So our goal is to support students in general education. All of our students are general education students first. So we really are focusing on inclusive practices to the maximum extent appropriate. And we continue to build a continuum of supports. So it's not just our students with special needs, but across all of our student needs. So we're working to help improve student outcomes overall. So with that foundation, I want to zoom out and show you the scope and trends that we're seeing across the system. So this is our current data from Census Day. You can see our special education numbers. Over 1,700 students are in special education. That is about 14.7% of our district population. That includes our preschool and our adult transition. You can see that we have grown as a department overall since COVID. You can see that we've been up from 79 programs to 101 special education certificated staff. That is our teachers. In our program, you can see all of the continuum of supports. Again, we are not just a program, we are services for all students. You can see 8 preschool teachers this year, 2 adaptive PE teachers. You can see all of our resource, elementary and secondary, our self-contained programs, and then you can see the other supports on the far right, our speech paths, our program specialists, our behavior intervention assistants, behavior support assistants, our board certified behavior assistants, and our mental health specialists. So again, referencing the 5-year trend, since COVID 2019, we have seen an increase in special education, 3.5% increase in our district. That is an average of an increase of 357 more students in the last 5 years. In that same time span, we have decreased general education by 403 students. So obviously that is a reduction in revenue of almost $5 million. I do want to highlight the special education budget is nearly $40 million, and $27 million of that is encroaching on gen ed budget. So when you look at our comparisons across the state, 14.7% of our population, the state average is 14.2. I will say our SELPA average is 13.1%. Across the state, we have seen significant increases in diagnosis of autism category, 61% increase since COVID. Other health impairment is also a significant increase, and then speech at 26%. So, how are we addressing some of these needs? How are we addressing staff capacity? So, like many districts, we are struggling with a shortage of fully credentialed teachers, and so at any given time, we have over 20 students in classrooms that are still working to complete their credentials. So to address this, we are helping provide strong onboarding process, not just for our certificated, but also our classified staff. We also have a strong instructional coaching throughout the year with our teachers. And then we also have provided some of our professional learning topics that we're addressing for our special education teachers, aides, and then we're also partnering with general education. So at the same time, we can help strengthen our Tier 1 and Tier 2 supports so student needs can be addressed earlier, thus reducing unnecessary referrals to special education. Next, I'd like to highlight some of our accomplishments that we've had in our department. One big highlight is over the last 4 years, we have increased our math, either meeting or exceeding standards on our MAP assessments. We also have a big highlight with 75% graduation rate back in 22-23. That has now increased to 85% for students with disabilities. And then a big highlight, I do have to give a shout out to Brandy Flanagan. She is one of our instructional coaches. She is helping with, this is our first year of our alternate pathway to diploma students. We have 14 seniors that will be graduating with a diploma that actually helps contribute to our graduation rate. So while they will still be receiving supports in our adult transition program, that's an exciting accomplishment. Teachers have worked very hard the last 4 years to develop a scope and sequence of alternate pathway to diploma what was I going to say, schedule and the overall classes. Coaching has been a huge benefit as well. You can see 100% of the staff surveyed found coaching valuable. And I wanted to have one of the quotes here. The support in Rocklin is one of the reasons that I'm staying. Very powerful. Next, I want to go into some of our challenges. So we are seeing a big increase in our behavior, especially at the earliest levels. We're talking about pre-K through grade 2 across the state. So with that, just to give you an example, last year alone, we identified 22 students in TK and K alone into special education, and 19 of those students actually were related to intense behavioral issues. So we also have a disproportionate impact with our students with disabilities and suspensions. So they are 4 to 5 times more likely to be suspended over students with not having a disability. So this is just helping us see that there is an urgent need for scalable support models at the foundational level for these young students. So how are we going to go about doing that? So we have worked for the last 3 years on behavior response teams, and that is using our existing structure and our counselors, our psychologists, our behavior support assistants, speech paths, principals, to outline kind of a call system, 3 people deep, 4 people deep, to help address some of these temporary crises that we have with some of our students in terms of elopement or severe aggression, because what was happening is a lot of particular people would be tapped for that, and a lot of kids that struggle with behavior, it's not a one-time incident, it happens for weeks and sometimes months at a time, therefore compromising people's ability to get their other positions and jobs done. So that has had a lot of success, and we've been continuing to do that. We do training with our principals and the program to outline those schedules in August of every year. We also piloted a program, like our acronym, so we're calling it BOOST, thanks to ChatGPT, Behavior Outreach and On-Site Support Team. So we were looking at, this is adapted from Folsom Cordova's behavior system with PBIS. It's a very complementary system where an itinerant group go and focus on TK through 2nd grade classrooms to help support gen ed teachers that need more support in tier 1 and tier 2 supports. And so what has made that really effective is real-time modeling from some of the staff feedback that we've received. Teachers can see the strategies in action, practice them, and then sustain them. So from the 11 classrooms we've supported so far in this pilot, academic engagement has increased by 13% in those classrooms, and disruptive behavior has decreased by 10%. I will say that the longevity studies from Folsom Cordova has been very positive. They've been doing this, I think, their 9th year this year, so we're looking forward to continuing that pilot next year. Another smaller pilot program I've been working with our BCBAs is we have 3 elementary SCC classes that are trying to do more class-wide behavior systems versus individual behavior plans. They're using Class Dojo to help use visual reinforcement. And the nice thing about Class Dojo is parents can have access, aides can have access, it holds everyone accountable, and the students with picking their avatars can really also track that. So now students aren't just responding to adults, they can also start to learn self-regulation and manage their own behavior. So in the pilots that we've been doing, positive to negative feedback loop has more than doubled, and increased positive and reinforcement in those classrooms has been increased by 83%, which is wonderful. Another system that we've done is regulated classroom. This is a great program that we've had a train the trainer model in, where we're working on adult regulation and having us be co-regulators to some of the young students in their class, so they can create more calmer, more predictable outcomes for our students. So together, these efforts are strengthening our Tier 1 and Tier 2 supports to help increase independence and reduce the need for more intensive supports this year. Looking to next year, we are looking at enhanced behavior support. We are partnering right now with RTPA to look at additional supports that we can focus on at the elementary level, focusing on de-escalation, crisis management, but also modeling of those behavior strategies for our teams. We're also exploring the Parent Empowerment Program. This is a program that was borrowed from Vanderbilt University. La Mesa in San Diego has been doing this for approximately 4 years, and they presented at AXA. There's now 3 districts in the state of California that are focusing on this, and what was really appealing is some of the outcomes that they have, because again, in partnering with parents, that's something that's reaching more in depth with behavioral change, so everyone can help partner with using the same language and helping parents support some of these kids that don't respond to typical models. In talking with some of the parents, they also felt like this was a really life-changing opportunity, and what's really appealing is when parents go through the entire training and graduate from the program like their students do, they become train the trainers, and they help other parents, and it's a really wonderful community of helping each other with some of these struggles that are real, and also out in the community. How do you support a student that might have a tantrum at Target, or how do you manage them dealing with that unpredictability? So it's looking like a really great program. Again, they have redirected 12 SPED referrals at La Mesa in the last 2 years and avoided 15 changes of placement just by helping empowering parents and having them have a true partnership in that program. So looking forward to continuing to investigate that. We also want to expand the regulated classroom. We focused on that with our Gen Ed TK teachers this year, had a lot of great feedback. When I presented to our elementary principals, everyone was interested in learning more. We have a wonderful mental health specialist, Danielle Ensley, that is helping spearhead some of that training. So we're looking to help support some of that co-regulation and helping teachers. You know, it can be very stressful with some of these children and some of the struggles that they have, and helping empower our adults to be able to manage that as well. Next, I would like to highlight some of our pictures here. We have permission from some of our adult students in the transition program as we're looking at how our SPED program complements the college and career readiness that we have. So for our students in adult transition, being ready for adult living, we focus on employment, we focus on secondary education, and we focus on independent living. I'd like to also give a shout out to Tasha Chauvin. She is our workability coordinator, and she is amazing. She's actually had all of the students in adult transition go through mock interviews. They actually dress up, they wear the suits, they practice, they do a recording, they ask them draft questions. Even our nonverbal students practice with their iPads so they can have adequate responses. And so, again, we've had proven outcomes where over 45% of our students that have gone through the adult transition program and students with special needs are gainfully employed, and 53% of those are continuing in education. I would like to shout out that we've had 2 students this year in permanent placement, where one works at Sunsplash and the other one works at Sierra Cafe, which is wonderful as well. You can see we've actually partnered with transportation with doing bus cleaning maintenance. We do try to find jobs on campus for students that are not as ready to do jobs off campus yet. So I will say that all of our students in the adult transition program have some type of work experience. There's varying degrees of readiness. And then all of the students at 3rd Street are experiencing off-campus job experience, including Pete's, Target, and Sunsplash.
How many students do we have? On the last slide, it said 251. Is that since the beginning?
That includes high school.
Okay. How many students do we currently have
in
in the adult transition program?
I would say 45.
Okay.
45. So this is just looking to next steps. As we look ahead, our focus is on scaling what's working and responding to the increasing student needs. So at the core of this work is, again, building independence, access, and meaningful outcomes for every student. Our focus is building systems, not just programs, to support students in the least restrictive environment. So we will continue to do this through strong staff support, data-driven decisions, and systems improvement work. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Are there any other board comments or questions?
Just a comment, you have a huge job and one of the most challenging, and you know, I've been on the board for 7 years, and the last 3 since you've been here, it's just been so nice that things have been so consistent. We've had less litigation. I appreciate all of the programs. I think people feel supported, and just a shout out to you. You've really done a great job.
Thank you, Rochelle. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I really appreciate how you package this together. There are so many great resources that you have included, and I really appreciate the focus on parent empowerment program and hearing about the students that were able to be redirected and the changes of placement by working with the parents, right? And so I really appreciate that focus there and being creative. And I noticed you put Class Dojo on there. Not only is that great for the student, that's also a great another connector point to the parent, that parents can have logins with Class Dojo, right? And so they can see as their students have some of this positive reinforcement happening in the classroom or in their environment, you know, hopefully a parent can reinforce that depending on what age range you're using that with. But just wanted to say, you know, I really appreciate that. I appreciate recognizing that there are so many things we can do in the classroom, but also outside the classroom as well to help these students. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. I agree.
I agree. Excellent job. I hope you're feeling very proud of the progress that you're making here in special education, and obviously even that extends to behavior in the classroom as well. Very exciting about the graduation rate. I think this alternate pathway is just such an exciting opportunity for some of our students who, you know, would benefit from earning a diploma, but also may still have some life skills or other things that they can accomplish with us in district. So that's really exciting to hear that we have students that are choosing that route for their future. With the behavioral trends, just, it's such a challenge. I know it's something that kind of took districts just kind of by surprise, and I am just so impressed with the conversations I've had and what I've learned about what you guys are doing to be prepared, right? You know, we didn't anticipate what the needs were going to be, but just the systematic approach, looking at these evidence-based practices that have had excellent results elsewhere, I think, you know, you guys are really on the right track with that. It's very concerning to think about this number of students qualifying for special education on primarily, you know, behavior or behavior alone. And so if there's a way that we can work on that, it's going to benefit our schools and our district in so many ways. The reinforcement, you know, that's always a challenge. We know that reinforcement is the best way to improve behavior, but it can be so difficult for a teacher with however many students to really deliver the amount of reinforcement that's kind of clinically significant, right? So using these programs, I think that's excellent. It's something that the students may even like more than just, you know, a verbal comment. So
they all like that competition.
Love that,
and
right?
Just being able to see what everyone
a little
has.
friendly
and
competition.
They're all working for like class parties and trying to get to those total points, which is great. Very
Yeah, I love that. I think, yeah, and it's just like a layer of reinforcement that they can use in the classroom. Yeah, same with the parent empowerment program. That's very compelling. So if we can replicate what they've seen,
we did go to a site visit down there to visit, and that was really powerful. We took a parent, we took a BCBA and a psychologist and myself just to check it out after we had heard about it. And yeah, it's you know, always exploring other things that can help with these bigger issues. And there's very few things that don't focus on kind of a build it and separate kids with those issues, and that just doesn't have great outcomes for kids. We really need to integrate them. And still, what I really like about this is you still have intense supports, and then they go back into the class.
I think, yeah, I heard from at our community of practice that you guys were doing that. So yeah, I'd love to even learn more about that at some other point. I agree. I think it's concerning when we start to see something that looks like a mini classroom within a classroom, right? You know, we need them to be able to contact that, you know, opportunity to interact and engage and get connected to their class. So yeah, just really exciting update, and I really appreciate your time on that.
Thank you.
Again, thank you. As has always been said, this is amazing. I love the college to career pipeline. I love the opportunities outside of the programs. I think we do a great job, but setting them up for success is good. I know a handful of our UST graduates and some of those parents, they have, Pathways to Possibilities. They're doing those things. So the more we can all work together and support, I think it's a great thing for that community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Leslie, as Rochelle said, these last 3 years since you've taken over the department, it has been amazing. And I was really excited to hear you tonight because we really haven't had to hear from special ed in quite a while. And that's saying a lot. So we super appreciate your proactive way of taking on this department, learning new things, trying new things, making things work, and supporting the staff. You've been amazing, and we are very pleased with your performance. So thank you for your presentation
There's lots
tonight.
of great rock stars in the department for sure. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we will now move on to public comment. And that is agenda item 12.1. And we want to remind everyone that this agenda item is to give anyone in attendance an opportunity to address the board on non-agenda items within the jurisdiction of the school district. The board is not permitted to deliberate or take action on non-agenda items, but may refer the matter to a staff member for follow-up. A complaint about a specific employee of the district shall be made to that employee's immediate supervisor or the principal as required by Administrative Regulation 1312.1. I will call your name to step up to the podium and let you know who's on deck. When you approach the podium, please restate your name, the city you live, and the schools your children attend. You will have 2 minutes to address the board. All comments must be respectful. Please no profanity. Also, if there's anyone in attendance who was planning to make a comment but did not fill out a green comment card, please do so now. Not sure what's going on with that. Okay. All right, up first will be Christy Boothby, and on deck will be Laura Crouch. Okay, up first will be Laura Crouch, and on deck will be Christy Boothby.
Good evening, board members. My name is Laura Crouch, and while I'm from Antelope, I've taught at Maria Montessori Charter Academy since its founding 26 years ago, and both of my children graduated from there, and they are now successful, educated adults with jobs contributing. Tonight, I am asking for your help to prevent a school you just voted to renew from being placed in an unsafe and unsustainable situation. An out-of-state developer has entered into an agreement to purchase the land adjacent to our campus, which is co-owned by Rocklin Unified, for a high-density housing project. While housing is important, this proposal is the wrong project in the wrong location, and we believe critical site-specific concerns have not been adequately addressed. First, the geotechnical analysis relies on assumptions from the city's general plan rather than the actual conditions of this site. The soil here is a mix of highly expansive clay-rich decomposed granite that swells when wet and shrinks when dry, and Merton bedrock, creating serious structural concerns. The proposed solution involves extensive excavation and burial of soil directly next to our campus, exposing children to potentially hazardous particulate matter during construction. The air quality analysis also appears to underestimate the project's impact. It uses a construction setback of 400 feet, even though some construction activity would occur as close as 1 foot from our playground, near sewer and stormwater infrastructure, and apartment buildings would sit only about 90 feet away. I'm going to hand off to my partner for the second half of the presentation.
All right, thank you so much. So now we will hear from Christy Boothby, and on deck is Bill McEnroe.
Hi, my name is Christy Boothby. I'm a public Montessori teacher, proud parent of 2 Whitney High School graduates, and a Rocklin community member. That hasn't changed from 2 weeks ago. In addition to what my colleague has shared, the project would raise already 3-story apartment buildings another 8 to 13 feet above grade, placing structures approximately 40 feet above our playground. Parking areas would overlook our preschool and elementary play spaces from elevated slopes, creating concerns about vehicle exhaust, creating a toxic waterfall effect, stormwater flow, noise, and safety. Yet these site-specific conditions are not meaningfully analyzed in the environmental review. There are also serious child safety concerns. The current plan separates elevated parking from our playground with only a 6-foot cedar fence and no protective bollards. That was the Dukes of Hazzard I talked about last time. Students' walking routes would pass through dense housing areas alongside a dog park, while fencing would prevent our staff from being able to visibly see them and supervise them. The school has already warned that changes tied to this project would impact DSA-certified plans, Title V compliance, and potentially expose the schools to risks involving funding and insurance. MMCA co-owns this site with Rocklin Unified. I am respectfully asking that this board stand with MMCA and actively collaborate to protect this campus and the students who learn here every day. We need RUSD's voice, expertise, and partnership before irreversible, harmful decisions are made at the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So up next is Bill McEnroe, and on deck is David Patterson.
My name is William McEnroe, and I have resided in my home in Rocklin for over 37 years with my 2 granddaughters who go to Whitney. I have concern regarding the $288 million bond issue. I am already paying for 2 bond measures now that cost over $360. You want to add another $270 to that. These figures referred in the mailer stated that it is unlikely that the current tax would increase. For clarification, what does this mean? If approved by local voters, a measure could. As a board member, you were stewards of the financial needs of the community. The existing bonds were $135 million to be used for the same issues as a new one. It so appears that these funds were never used, for the repairs have never been done. Query, the mailer states that new air conditioners are needed. In December 24, the board meeting passed Phase 1 for $1,955,000 and allocated for new air conditioners. Phase 2 is allocated in June of 25. Per the district numbers, this number of students has declined from 2019 to 2024 by $576. The number of teachers from 2020 to 2025 did not decline. 700 teachers are still in the classrooms. The administrative staff, including pupil services, has increased by 34%. The appearance of the community would be that these funds did not go where the voter figured they would go. Is the taxpayer soon to later ask for another bond issue? If the bond issue passed, would the current budget for repairs be put in general funds to offset these expenses? My suggestion is to do your due diligence, curb the expenditures until the existing bonds expire in 2028 and 2029. At this, you would have a
Bill, thank you so much for raising these concerns. These are the exact questions we expect to get from our community, and there is a town hall on May 28th that I would love for you to come to. And you brought up a lot of great things and questions that I know our community has. And though we can't go through everything tonight, there was something in particular that I would be really pleased if Superintendent Stock could address. It was the issue of the overlapping taxation. Could you please clarify how that's going to work?
Actually, I am going to, if you're with permission from you, President, have to defer to Deputy Superintendent Stahlheber because she has a more nuanced understanding to give that clarification.
Yes, thank you.
So the bonds that are currently on levied each year on the tax roll paid for new schools. So it built Whitney High School, and prior to that, it built, Quarry Trail was built as well. Sorry, took me a minute. And Sunset Ranch. Okay, thank you. I'm still learning when the sequence. So we did use it to build new schools. We also use some for some modernization.
Can you also
Those-
state the year that those bonds were enacted?
Those were passed in 2020, or 2002, sorry. It's, I'm sorry, it's a little late. 2002. So those will fall off the tax roll in 2028. And so the bond that we're proposing, we consider an extension because we would not issue debt until those bonds expired. And even if we issued a debt, we would not have any bonds that would have funds due until 2028. And so that actually lowered the amount available to us to go out to the community and request. Whereas if we did a measure that would stack on top of the other measure, we would have, I believe it was at approximately 53 million available in additional bonding capacity because it's based off assessed value. But because we don't want to layer them, we don't want to add the new one until the other ones are expired, that's why we have a lower amount. And that's why we don't consider it increasing.
Okay, so could you speak a little bit to how much the previous cost was in comparison to how much the new cost will be?
I don't have those exact figures, but I have been involved in prior bond projects and know, when you could build a school for 30 million and now the average cost of an elementary exceeds more than 50 million. The average cost for a high school exceeds more than 150 million.
And also, just the current rate on the assessed value under the current bonds is about $81.99, $82 per 100,000. And under the measure the district is considering, it would fall to $60. So it would not stack on top of each other and would be at a lower rate per 100,000 of assessed value as well.
I think trustees have worked so hard on this and with so much heart for the community, and we all live in the community. We don't want to pay more taxes. I am wondering if either of our facilities people want to speak on this or just move on from here.
Yeah, the only reason I'm hesitating is because it's not an agendized item. So I'm trying to navigate legally carefully. But I do want to clarify something and give some clarification since it was said. And just to be clear, this is not something the facilities committee is proposing. This is something the district has been looking at and is just looking at possible avenues. And so our job is to ask the tough questions and say, hey, is this what the community wants? There was mention of award extension. And so I want to make sure we're very clear on that. As I understand, there have been bonds that were voted on, approved, and issued for the building of new campuses that have since been completed and built and are now about to fall off the rolls. And so a possible option the district is currently investigating is an opportunity to levy state funds with a new bond, but that new bond would actually be at a lower rate than what an individual is currently paying. So there would not be a tax increase of rate, but there would be a new bond. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, and you're right, Trustee Sadoff, this isn't agendized. So I am excited that you came and asked those questions though, Bill, because we are looking for community input. We really want to hear it. And there is a survey too that is attached with that flyer, that mailer that you got. We would be very happy if you would go scan it and take that survey. Okay, so we do want your feedback. Please go in and give us that feedback, and we would love to have further conversation with you. I do feel obligated to cut it off tonight, though, because it's not agendized and people weren't invited to come and hear the conversation. But thank you very much for bringing up those questions and concerns. All right, and now we will move on to David Patterson. Thank you for coming.
So my comments might be also timely then. Good evening again, President Huff, board members, and Superintendent Stock. As you know, Dave Patterson, trustee in the Placer County Board of Education representing Rocklin. Our family has been in this community for more than 3 decades, and my wife, as you many know, is a retired teacher at Rocklin High School. Our family recently received that same flyer about the significant need to maintain and refurbish our schools. For me, it brought back memories of how our community came together to support our schools, the doors that I and many others knocked on to talk to our friends and neighbors. I remember one election when the vote was so close we had to wait days until all the votes were counted to be able to declare victory. Now, I know there are people in Rocklin, people I know well and respect, who oppose all tax increases. They feel the way they do often because they don't like a lot of state policies and laws. But frankly, I tell them, I don't like a lot of things that Sacramento does either. But I'm not going to hurt our city, our schools, and our families just because wrong-headed policies exist in Sacramento. I don't want to pay any additional taxes, but to ensure Rocklin remains a great place to live, raise a family, and send kids, I will pay extra, I will pay more, and I urge them to do the same. Now, this is all to say, to win a bond election, you need to know that the entire community has come together. And we can't do that if there's a divisive battle in our community. The Sierra Wilds project and its impact on Maria Montessori Charter Academy, as currently proposed, is truly terribly designed and unsafe for students as a project. I urge you, and I know your authority is limited, but the community needs to see this board and district leadership as a loud and clear public voice doing everything it can to protect our children, to help stop, if possible, and to mitigate.
Thank you very much, David. Appreciate you coming here tonight. All right, and that is it for public comment tonight. No others came in? Okay. So our board bylaws require 2 trustees to place an item on the agenda. Trustees, do you have any items to discuss or consider for the pending agenda? Okay, in that case, meeting is adjourned.